Good morning. Happy Sunday. Welcome to your early morning intuitive guidance. I am Dr. Bonnie Nussbaum here with some words of wisdom, and today we have a very interesting card, and I think for some it may be a fear-provoking card, but I don't think that's the intention. The intention is for us to perk our heads up and pay attention a little bit. So, good morning to whomever just popped on. Glad you're here. Welcome, welcome. We'll wait a minute or two as the Practical Rebels start to roll in. It is Cindy. Good morning. Looks like someone else is here also. Peggy. Good morning. Good morning. Glad you are here. Welcome. Welcome. We have an interesting card today. And then I want to do a reading, share an email. Some of you probably get Father Richard Rohr's emails every day. And this one's called Transforming Spirit, which I think fits in well with our reading for today. In fact, I kind of feel like the Father Richard piece should lead and then the card comes second. So I think that's what I'm going to do. That just dawned on me that would be a good flow for it. But let's start by getting in a beautiful state. So just rubbing your hands together, placing them over your heart. Nice deep breath in through the nose, out through the mouth. Good morning, Janine. Welcome. We're just doing some breathing after energizing our hands. Not trying to change anything or fix anything, just checking in with where am I at right here, right now. Being that curious observer. And it also feels like I'd like to do a round of tapping just to clear, for clear and clarity, for clarity and clarity. And then we'll do the reading and then we'll do the card. So just tapping on the side of your hand, opening up for clarity. Letting go of all the things that we're being guided to release. Stepping into a divine energy of love toward ourselves, for ourselves, and for others. Good morning, Gwen. We're just doing a little tapping to lay the groundwork, creating open space for today's reading because I think it's going to be really powerful. Inside corner of the eyebrows, clearing space. Outside corner of the eyes, stepping into the open field under the eyes of all possibilities. Under the nose, everything's on the table. Good morning, Joniel. Under the mouth, everything is possible. Collarbone, and I am open to it. Under the arms, I'm open to receiving whatever's divinely recommended for me. And around the crown of the head, good morning, Beth. Glad you're here. Nice deep breath in. So, as I said, for those of you who are popping on now, I want to share a reading from Father Richard Rohr, who is a Franciscan priest, and I was born and raised in the Catholic Church. I consider myself in recovery, and Father Richard is one of those voices within the Catholic Church who really speaks to me. The man gets it, okay? He knows about all the foibles and difficulties, and good morning, Carolyn. Welcome. And I like to say I have a friend who is an 80-something nun, Sister Celine. Good morning, Bonnie. And she is damn mad that she was never allowed to be a priest. She talks about having done all the various things that the priest did, but never being allowed to have that. So I want to read this it's, I don't know, 5 or 6 paragraphs. But for me, because every time, even now, the word God has connotations to it that I'm not too excited about. The old white guy sitting on the cloud with the beard, sitting in judgment of me, okay? My fallible human self who can't get out of my own way, blah, blah, blah. You're born with original sin. What the fuck is that, right? Blah. So, I'm going to read Father Richard, And then I'm going to share our card from Earth Magic because I think it's going to put it into a really good context that may help you make some discernments. Yes, he is wonderful. So here is Father Richard's reflection on transforming spirit and how the spirit's presence can transform our lives and institutions. So anywhere he says God, if you prefer spirit, creator, divine right, authority, however you want to look at it, nature, whatever framework, I like spirit because that's disembodied. It's not this physical being thing, the white guy sitting on the cloud. So however you want to put it, feel free to put it. But here is Father Richard's reflection. Without a conscious living in the flow of spirit, through us, within us, and for us, and those are the three movements, I think prayer can become merely functional. But if we live within that flow, prayer can become an experience of mystical communion. Mystical communion. I love that. So connecting with all that is, right? There is no problem to be solved. It's simply enjoying what is, learning how to taste it, learning how to receive it, learning how to see God in all of it, and knowing that this now, whatever it is enough. Now, does that not sound like Byron Katie, loving what is? When the flow is not there, church becomes overly problem-solving and practical. Sacraments without the Spirit become strategic. Ooh. They become something we feel obligated to attend or belong to in order to go to heaven. Church becomes about paying fire insurance dues. We don't really want to be there, but we go along for the ride in case the whole thing just happens to be true. I know this might be shocking to say and hear, but this kind of church deserves to die. Wow, that's pretty powerful coming from a Franciscan priest, don't you think? There's no life in it. There's no future in it. It is not of the Spirit. It is precisely a blocking of the Spirit, but it's disguised as if it's spiritual. Do we not see this happening all around us right now? All around us. And I actually have some friends who are camping this weekend and ended up leaving the campsite because there were people who were espousing the beliefs of Christian nationalism. And that's not our jam. We're out of here. So, outside of spirit, reading the Bible can become nothing more than ego ammunition. Without the Spirit, Bible study does not lead to a divine intimacy and union. Rather, it can lead to self-sufficiency and confirmation about why we're right. Ooh. Instead of leading us to God, it becomes a way for us to protect ourselves and to judge and diminish other people. But when we read the scriptures inside of the energy and flow of the Spirit, the stories themselves reveal 1,000 confirmations of that very pattern. People allowing the flow, people resisting and opposing the flow, and sometimes finally being swept up by it. They become models for us that allowing the flow of the Spirit leads to a new life. And I was reading something else, trying to remember who it was by. Might have been Crooked News, but the gist was about being at an event where there was everybody from soup to nuts in terms of spiritual beliefs, and the awareness that there were people there who were devout atheists. I don't believe in any of that crap, but were very much humanists. What can I do to serve my fellow humans? So let's see where this goes, because this is such interesting stuff. Outside of the Spirit, authority becomes dominion. Inside of the Spirit, authority becomes service. Outside of the Spirit, politics becomes control. Inside of the Spirit, leadership is something we know is given to us to offer to others. Not authority over people, but authority to call forth the presence of God within so that they can be in the same flow and enjoy the same freedom. And does that mean I get to tell someone how to do their God walk? Hell no. None of my business. None of my business. You find what works for you. Everybody does something different. Some people it's being in nature. Some people it's different kinds of nature. They're a mountain person, or they're a river person, or they're an ocean person, whatever. Whatever moves you to connect to the oneness, rock on. Rock on. I think the simplest way to discern the presence of the Spirit is to look for where there is unity, where there is movement toward reconciliation, for two becoming one, for enemies becoming friends. I can't tell you how much of that I am reading about and learning about in the book King, about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Wow, that walk of faith. God, what a calling. Holy cow. All right, let's see what else we got here. The spirit self has no need to think of itself as better than anyone. We just live with an energy and aliveness that Paul called the fruit of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, generosity, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. And that's Galatians 5:22-23. Our job is simply to stay inside the flow of the Spirit, which is love. Wow. Stay inside the flow of the Spirit, which is love. All about love. How many songs have been written about that, right? So that's the Father Richard reading, and I think that kind of lays a beautiful groundwork for our card today from Earth Magic, Stephen D. Farmer. You ready for this? Don't freak. It'll be okay. 2 books you're currently reading. Oh, awesome. Okay, I'll have to look at that. It just says the see more, and if I hit the button, you know what's going to happen. So, Tsunami, wake up call. Wake up call. And a bunch of you might be going, oh crap. Don't worry about it. Let's read. Tsunami. One of the scariest and more destructive of natural phenomena, along with volcanoes, earthquakes, hurricanes, and tornadoes, a tsunami occurs when a large volume of water is suddenly and rapidly displaced. It's triggered by an undersea disturbance, typically an earthquake or volcanic eruption, that causes a series of powerful waves to travel across the ocean at speeds up to 500 miles an hour. Yet on the open ocean, the height of these waves seems so small that they generally pass unnoticed. As these waves, collectively called a tsunami, get closer to the shoreline, their height increases enormously, even as their speed slows to 50 miles per hour. I'm sorry, but 50 miles an hour ain't all that slow. The distance between the waves, or the trough, can be considerable, taking 20 to 30 minutes from wave to wave, which is why there's your little window of opportunity. If the first wave comes through, it's the warning sign. It's the warning bell. And we're getting those warning bells, aren't we? So what Father Richard's talking about, we're getting the warning bells. What is not working here? There's a whole lot of stuff not working here, all right? If the trough hits the land first, the water recedes rapidly and dramatically, followed within minutes by an enormous wave that initially comes as a surge. This receding is a clear sign of an impending tsunami. We can't outrun the wave that follows, but we can avoid being swept up in the destruction by moving to higher ground. So now here's the part where it's speaking directly to you. You are getting a wake-up call. It may be in the form of a significant loss or other dramatic event in your life, typically one that you were not prepared for initially. Could be a job loss, could be the end of a relationship, could be your house burns down, could be, Carolyn, you kind of, all of us, the things that happen that catch us off guard. We get a diagnosis, someone passes away, all of those things. You may feel stunned at first, surprised by the unexpected events that are occurring. Yet you also know that it is a time to draw back the curtain of avoidance and denial. So, la 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 is not a good plan at this point. And confront the truth that exists in the subtext of this event. So, I was talking to, who was I talking to yesterday? And we were talking about that. My brother, on our way down to work on the flip. as things unfold, as we got older, being in a place of saying, I wonder what I'm supposed to learn from this. I wonder what I'm supposed to take away from this. Good morning, Paula. Even in some really not fun events, asking, I wonder what this is about. I wonder what I meant to take away from this. And even asking the question opens the door for you to begin to know more, right? Kind of the tapping we did at the beginning of this call, or this video. It was pointed in the direction of opening up to receiving. What am I meant to learn? What is right in front of me, presenting itself, saying, hey, pay attention. I'm here. I've got a message for you. Let's start paying attention. So we're recognizing that on the national scene, yes, exactly, Carolyn, wow. On the national scene, there are many messages coming through now that what's being done is not working. And how much is it going to take some of the structures that are no longer working, imploding? And I'll tell you what typically happens. As a structure begins to crumble, there are already other structures ready to take its place. Sometimes something has to take a great big dive. Think of the dinosaurs. Sometimes you have to wipe out something that isn't working, isn't sustainable, for something that is to step up. All right, so let's keep going here. So I'm going to read it again. You also know that this is a time to draw back the curtain of avoidance and denial. What are we pretending not to know? And confront the truth that exists in the subtext of this event. The event itself is merely the messenger. Don't get too wound around your axle about the specifics of the event. It's merely the messenger. Receive the message. Receive the message. You are experiencing a real-life drama, so there's no need to amplify it more than it already is. Good morning, Bobby. Welcome, welcome. So what that's saying is when something untoward happens, us flipping out about it doesn't really move us forward, doesn't really assist. We certainly can feel what we feel about it, but then be about the business of what am I meant to learn from this? How am I meant to change what I'm doing, thinking, feeling, believing based on this? Okay? Often when you look back after something like this has passed, you can recall signs that foreshadowed it happening. There may have been obvious clues that you ignored, or omens that were so subtle they were easy to dismiss as the imaginings of the mind rather than the voice of your instinct. And again, we have been heavily trained to not listen to our instinct. Not acceptable. We must get back to what are we being guided to do? What is this inside feeling telling me? I've got several friends, one of who is a physician who uses her body as a pendulum. So she'll just tune into her question and get a yes or a no. Very interesting. We have capacity for so much more than we think we do, right? You've all heard that from me every day. So let's keep going. And this fits perfectly with our card yesterday about relying on intuition as opposed to intellect. Intellect is meant to be the faithful servant of intuition. All right? There are many anecdotes about animals operating purely on instinct, picking up on clues, and naturally seeking higher ground before an approaching tsunami reaches the land. To negotiate this wake-up call, listen closely to your instincts. To negotiate this wake-up call, listen closely to your instincts, while at the same time seeking the higher ground of spiritual truth. Seeking the higher ground of spiritual truth. And that piece right there, I'm watching in the book as Martin Luther King is coming to acceptance of it's likely he's going to be assassinated. He's already aware of it. He sees it coming. Looking back, he can see all of the others that preceded him in that same way. If you look at those we now look at through the lens of, wow, they were a spiritual leader, whether it's Gandhi or God or, many of them met God, yeah, Jesus. Many of them their physical beings met with assassination, right? So, what is it about? Good morning, Carolyn. Glad you're here. Welcome, welcome. What is it about the message, the calling to a higher way of being, that human beings don't buy into, that human beings struggle with? And I know many people are going to say, it's too hard. It's way too hard. I'm sorry, but being in humanness is hard. It's hard, the stuff we deal with. And I think many of us have that sense of what it was like to not be embodied, to be free, floating around, our spirit being released from a physical vehicle. That's why I always think death and dying is a fabulous thing. This is good stuff, you guys, because it's freeing us from this physical vehicle that we chose to be in for a chunk of time. And as we read all over the place, as we hear preachers speak about, we go on. We're not, and for those who are true atheists, think about what happens though. We take this physical being, we put it into the earth, sprinkle it, whatever we do with it, it's still present, right? It's still present. It's not identifiable as that was Bonnie, that was Bobby, that was Jane, that was Fred, but it is identifiable as the, what do I want to call it? The raw materials of beingness. Those cells aren't disappearing. They're being absorbed and they repeat in something else. So perhaps my cells end up being taken up by a blade of grass. Whatever. We go on. Not in this corporeal form, but we go on. So, and my friend Lynn Schuster, who is Animal Spirit Talker, was very helpful with me after I hit a deer and felt just devastated that I'd killed it. She said animals aren't that attached to their containers. They know they're coming back. They know they're going to be a part of everything, that they are a part of everything. Now we could just get the human beings to understand that. Do you think we would do the stuff we do when we realize we're all part of one? So, would we kill each other? Would we steal from each other? Would we lie? Would we do any of that crap that human beings are kind of prone to do when we were truly living from spirit? And obviously, Jesus in particular has been, the messages have been bastardized such that, that old saying, Betty's flipping in his grave, what human beings have done with the message. Wow. So we each have our opportunity here. So it might be going back and watching the beginning part of this where I'm reading the Father Richard Rohr thing and kind of picking that piece up. Outside of spirit, authority becomes dominion. Inside of spirit, authority becomes service. Outside of spirit, politics becomes control. Inside of spirit, leadership is something we know is given to us to offer to others. Not authority over people, but authority to call forth the presence of God, spirit, oneness, however you look at it, within so that they can be in the same flow and enjoy the same freedom. Again, that doesn't mean you have to enjoy my flow. You have to enjoy my kind of freedom. You get to enjoy what's right for you. So, lots to think about today. This is good stuff. This is really good stuff. And again, if we know that this is approaching and this has a divine spiritual purpose, it's sort of like the spiritual, come on, wake up, let's pay attention here. We don't have to be afraid of it. Yes, patriarchal thinking is a limited box. And how did it develop? Out of fear. When we come from faith and trust, so much can be in flow. Again, we're human beings. We have foibles. We have doubts. But honoring that and going with faith and trust anyway. Lots to ponder, lots to ponder. I'm glad it stirred you, because it certainly stirred me, and I love how these pieces come together. So feel free to watch a couple of times. And this isn't at all about me. I'm just the messenger. There's 8,000 other places where you could get the same information, but you're the ones who connect with me and hear what I have to say. And it's not what I have to say. Obviously today it was what Father Richard Rohr had to say, it was what Stephen Farmer had to say, but it's the bringing together of all of those messages. We are all just the messengers. The divine has the message. So enjoy your Sunday. Have a great day. We'll see you again tomorrow. Remember, you're capable of far more than you think you are. Bye-bye.